Tampa just beat the Jets 28-24. There's a lot to unpack here. A couple things. Number one, it's very weird. The Jets ran a quarterback sneak on 4th and 2 with 2 minutes left on like the 6-yard line. Instead of kicking a short field goal, it would have given them a 7-point lead. And I mean, look, I don't mind going for it on 4th and 2 on the 6-yard line, because if you don't get it, then Tom Brady's got to drive 94 yards and put together a touchdown drive. Like, that's fine. But the quarterback sneak was weird. You run a quarterback sneak on 4th and inches, not 4th and 2. And something was either disorganized or miscommunication. I have no idea what was going on for the Jets, especially when you realize, hey, the literal biggest strength of the Buccaneers' entire football team, arguably, is their interior defensive line. Like, 4th and 2, you're not going to get 2 yards on a quarterback sneak against Vita Vea. I'm sorry, but what are you doing? That was a terrible call. It was very confusing. Now, on top of that, Tom Brady did drive 94 yards and put together a game-winning touchdown drive. He threw a touchdown pass with 15 seconds left, then they went for 2, took a 28-24 lead. And I just got to say, I feel bad for Jets fans. Not only did your team make some weird decisions down the stretch, but also, I am sure you guys hate Tom Brady. And I don't even blame you. I love Tom Brady. I'm a fan of him. But if you're a Jets fan, go ahead and hate the guy, because for years, Tom Brady has terrorized your organization. And I bet you were glad. He finally leaves the AFC East. He's not the Patriots quarterback anymore. And you're like, finally we're free of dealing with Tom Brady ever again. And then, you got to play him again this year. I'm just sorry for you guys, man. The Jets actually led the game 24-10 in the third quarter. In the second half, they had a lead. And Tom Brady strikes again, steals the lead, wins the game, and poor Jets fans. Now, let's get into the main event, shall you say, from this Jets-Buccaneers game. The main story. In the middle of the game, Tampa Bay receiver Antonio Brown literally just quit and left. He took off his pads. He was yelling at people, threw his shirt into the stands, was yelling at fans. And he just, with 2 minutes left in the third quarter, walked off the field and quit the team. And why? Why did this happen? Well, it's complicated, because the honest answer, I think, is that, I believe he has mental health problems. And to me, that's not a guy that's entirely right in the head. And I mean that very respectfully. He was triggered because his coach, Bruce Arians, told him to go back into the game, which that's very mild and normal. In football, if your coach wants you to play, you go in the game. You don't really respond by quitting. It's an abnormal reaction to a very normal thing in football. And that's what tells me that Antonio Brown has mental health problems. It's really, frankly, sad. He's unhinged. He had a massive overreaction to a very normal thing in football. And maybe Bruce Arians said it in a way he didn't like. Bruce Arians can be blunt and can be rude, but in football, people aren't always jolly and happy all the time. And you have to be able to handle normal human interaction that isn't always the most positive thing in the world. And to me, the massive overreaction from Antonio Brown was the sign of someone who was not acting like someone who was thinking clearly. And that makes me sad, because honestly, look, Antonio Brown has been, for lack of a better term, right? I don't mean an offense, but he's been crazy or a lunatic or unhinged, whatever you want to call it, this whole time. It's not like Antonio Brown ever became a different person, right? We've seen the stories for years. It's been a weird roller coaster of events in Tampa. And the fact, to me, what's crazy is that Tom Brady was able to manage that relationship as long as he did. It's really a testament to Tom Brady, which just says that Tom Brady made it work with Antonio Brown when literally nobody else could. And I don't know that Antonio Brown realizes this, but whether he knows or not, Antonio Brown just retired. By walking off the field in the middle of the third quarter, that's it. His career is over. No one else is going to give him a shot. This was his last opportunity. The Buccaneers, frankly, gave Antonio Brown an opportunity when nobody else was willing to, because of the Tom Brady connection, because Tom Brady had worked with him before and vouched for him and said, I'll manage him and manage that relationship. And to me, if anything, the Antonio Brown saga really does show a lot about Tom Brady, in that he will do literally anything to win. He doesn't care. He's like, can you play football? If you can play, I'll work with you, and I'll find a way to make it work. I can't even imagine what it was like to manage that relationship on a day-to-day basis. Like, what were practices like? How much was there walking on eggshells and being careful? And, you know, because if something like that triggers a reaction from Antonio Brown where he's quitting football, go in the game. No, argue and, what was it really like? Because I'm sure we'll never know. But Antonio Brown seems incapable of handling a normal human interaction where I would imagine, look, Tom Brady's probably kissing his butt left and right, saying whatever he needs to say, telling him sweet nothings to make Antonio Brown stick around and woo him into working with Tampa Bay. Tom just nurtured the guy, gave him love, and they won a Super Bowl together. Like, that was rewarded. And I think Tom was able to overlook his off-the-field stuff because he's like, the guy can play football. And if it helps me win football games, that's literally all I care about. But I want to point out, nobody, I think, could have or would have worked with Antonio Brown as long as Tom Brady was able to make it work and make that happen. And I really agreed with what Tom Brady said after the game, which was that Brady said he needs help. We all love him. We care about him deeply. We want to see AB at his best, but unfortunately, that will not be with our team. And right after the game, Buccaneers head coach Bruce Arians confirmed that Antonio Brown is no longer a part of the team. And, Antonio Brown's career is over. And I honestly thought it was over. There have been multiple times in the last year or two where I've thought, is this it for Antonio Brown? Like, is this the moment where it's all over? And this turns out to be the last straw. Tampa was the only team willing to put up with what he brought to the table off the field. I think this was his last shot. And look, his meltdown is a bit funny. Let's acknowledge, right? It's a crazy moment. We've never seen anything like that, really. It's a meme. It's a really entertaining TikTok. But I encourage people to try not to laugh if you can. I don't begrudge anyone if your initial reaction, because my initial reaction was like, oh my gosh, like, what? Like, what? Kind of that incredulous. It was entertaining. It felt like a moment from like wrestling or something. You're like, what's happening here? This is very strange. So I don't want to come down and like judge anybody who had that reaction, because that's the reaction I had. But there's a deeper level when you think about it, a little bit longer. And the reality is that Antonio Brown seems to be a person in crisis who needs help. And initial reaction is like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And then you think about it on a deeper human level, like forget about football. And when you do that, I'm really worried about Antonio Brown's future because, he doesn't have football anymore. And he's already a guy who seems a little bit unhinged, and now not having football, my attention will shift towards, I hope that Antonio Brown gets the help that he needs. And I hope that people don't dehumanize him, because it really does seem like a guy who is having a mental breakdown and maybe has been having one for like 2 to 3 years, if not longer. And man, it's a dark place. It's a dark world. Football has been a source of income, the thing he does. If he doesn't have that, what does he have? And I really worry about that. And I hope other people can see through the meme and look at the person and also feel concerned, because I just can't say enough. I'm worried about his future, and I hope that Antonio Brown gets the help that he needs